Okay, so here's the video on different saws, but what sizes between the homelite XL between these two big saws? Well, simple. The homelite XL was the first top hill chainsaw that were made in the 70s, including the 80s, and then they keep making them into the 90s, and this one's got a toggle switch, but the toggle switch is sideways. That's not the original switch. But these two saws got original toggle switches, just like on the Extreme Power 82100 XP, including the Steel 031AV Farm Boss. But these are very good old saws, but they're good firewood saws. Everybody continues to use hung lights just like in the old days, and sometimes they do them in a Halloween spirit. They use them for Halloween and stuff, but unfortunately, these saws do not have chain brakes, but they just had guards, but these are the only three saws I can only get them to run. These are the only working saws I'm able to get. And right here, as you can see, there's my other XL chainsaws. But I'm using these as for parts for the big red, including the XL12. If a piston and cylinder burns up in the big red, I got plenty of piston and cylinders from these to put them onto this one. And if I had a flywheel that's broken, if a flywheel breaks, if a flywheel comes loose, if it gets too stretchy, if the flywheel is broken, I'll just take these off one of these and put them on it. And put them on the big red or the XL12. If I got a stud, two studs are stretched out, if a stud is getting weaker, I'll take studs off of this, including the other one right there, and put them on this, including the XL12. But if I had a sprocket that's getting worn out, I'll take one off of this and put it on this or the XL12. And but this one weighs about 4 pounds, because this thing's got a 16-inch bar and chain. That came from the other one, from the 90s homelite Little Red. And this one weighs about 10 pounds, because this thing's a little lightweight, because it's a 54.2 cc motor with an oiler in the back. And the big red weighs about 20 pounds or 16 pounds with a 20-inch bar with a bigger piston and cylinder. Now, the only difference between these saws, including the XL12, are different motor size. And they could pull a 16-inch or an 18-inch bar on them. But this one could pull a 20-inch or a 24-inch bar or an 18-inch. So I'm using the 16-inch for this saw because it's a small saw, because I would never put a 20-inch bar onto this saw because that wouldn't work. But in the movie they did, which is that saw, which is the Evil Dead style saws, they put a 20-inch bar onto this saw, but that won't work. But unfortunately, in real life, that wouldn't work because you'll burn the motor up. And it can't pull a heavy chain because the motor is too small, because it's a tree limit saw or a firewood saw, whichever. Or a tree climbing saw by power company or landscapers, whichever. They use modern saws, not homelite saws, which is I do. I use them for firewood around the farm, or use them as an emergency saw, If a tree was on the road on my driveway, they're there when I need it. If a tree falls on my backyard or on the hill, if I was going up on the hill making me a camp, if I had a tree in the way, I'll just definitely use one of these to get it out of the way. And just cut it up for firewood. But these things were exactly close as the one that was used in Leatherface movie 2017 movie. And Sam Strike was the actor of Jed Sawyer, because they didn't use one of these saws in that movie. In the movie they used is a homelite 600D, which is the same saw as the homelite Zip, which is their 77 cc's, because they're heavy and they do not have a muffler because they're too loud, and they're very loud because they'll make your ears bleed. But these saws had quiet mufflers, but these things got ported mufflers, which is they're quiet, and including this thing. But these saws are okay, but they're not even as loud as the homelite Zips. But they do kind of remind me of the sound of a motorcycle. But motorcycles are very loud, but these things are not even as loud as a motorcycle. But motorcycles are very loud because these things are not even as loud as a motorcycle. But I'm not going to fire this thing up again because I already did that on the other video, which is the review on the homelite XL12 and the Big Red. You can check that out, and you can check it out, and it should be on the video when I post it. And if you all had watched Bubba Sawyer's channel, he's got a lot of chainsaws he had in his collection. He collects Poland. He collects Poland saws, homelite saws, which is he used some of them as replica saws, which is they're used in the horror films by Gunnar Henson, who used to play the actor as a Leatherface in 1974 with the Poland 245A. And Bubba Sawyer's got one of them saws. You can check him out. He's got all video on his saws from years ago. And for nowadays, he's doing something else, like reviewing his new weed eater and stuff. But I would definitely do the same thing as he did to his weed eater. Put 6 bullets into the cylinder and be done with it. And never fixed it. But if your antique equipment was having a hard time starting or having a hard time running, if you don't feel like fixing them, throw them in the junk pile and get a new one. But these things run fine for me, but some of them don't work for most folks out there, because most folks had their opinion on their saws, which is they don't use. But in their opinion, they were junk. They used to have these saws, which they threw away because they were junk and they're not worth fixing. But for me, I like fixing these homelites because I'm a homelight guy. I love homelight saws. But on the manual, it says they take 32-to-1 mix. I usually use 50-to-1 in those saws. I did read up a lot of articles online what mixtures for these saws and the Super XL and the XL or Little Red XL or Big Red XL. It says they use 50-to-1 oil mix, which is they do use 50-to-1. 50-to-1 don't even hurt it, and I do use 50-to-1 and in my saws, including the modern saws, the whole time. 50-to-1 will make them last longer and makes them saws last forever in the future. But I really like these homelites. I really do. And someday I might be able to find a Poland 4200 counter vibe and add it to the collection. And a Husqvarna 359. added to the collection. And my friend Chase Adams and I went to high school together. He got me into those saws with Leatherface saw stuff. He likes doing Leatherface proms, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he had a Husqvarna 359. I was real happy for him. But someday I'm definitely going to get one for myself and add it to the collection. And but someday I'm going to make me another shelf for one more saws, which I'm going to find. I think I'm going to put me a shelf right up there. Make it a little bit more longer right here. And make it about right here at this corner. And I got my chain breaker and my chain titer on the bench yesterday, which is I don't have enough time to make a video on it last night. Which is I wanted to make sure they'll work right before I make a new chain for my modern saws and the old chains, spare chains for the antique chainsaws. So, anyways, here's what me and my dad put together last night. It's a 2-ton walk-behind crane, which is we're going to use to pull the motor out of something when he gets a winch put together. So we already put it together from the other night, and he's going to add a winch to it. And if we're going to lift a lawnmower, that's what we'll use it for. And or I can definitely use it to lift this mower up and put it in the back of the gator. Want to go up and cut grass up at Mama's. And so anyways, enough rambling on the lawnmowers. But anyways, back to the chainsaws. But these are the saws I'm going to be using as a farm saw for firewood during the winter time and the fall season and sometime in the summer. But anyways, but these are very good saws. I've seen a bunch of reviews on these saws on YouTube. And they were good saws. Everybody has same saws like I do. Which is they're different ones and different sizes. And I really like Super XL and XL12, including the XL. But these saws are the working saws I'm able to get. And I think I might be able to find one more homelite to be added to the collection. It would have been a homelite Big Red, which I might find if it runs. I'll definitely have a spare piston and cylinder for it. So, anyways, there's the video on the comparison of the homelite XL, XL12, and the Big Red. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe to the channel. And don't miss out for more videos. And I think I may make one more video on my Husky 455 and my Husqvarna 450. So, anyways, there's the video on the homelite saws. And the last video will be the Husqvarnas. So anyways, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another video.